Yo, what is good, my anime people? What is good, yo? So I still need a key. Isn't that too weird? I have been pretty lucky to watch a lot of these shows in the grand scheme of just like how things usually turn out in season ones or season twos. Where you kind of just get the same old, and you just kind of call it quits. But this show has been in a position where you can't really tell if it wants to be silly, if it wants to be straight up like brutal and honest. It sometimes gives off all of those impressions somehow. And I always thought that was weird. Like I always thought a show usually can be one or the other when it comes down to being funny, or one or the other when it comes down just to being like nitty and gritty and like keeping real to the world. And so when a show kind of introduces both, I can't help but feel uh, it just happy to be able to watch it and enjoy what they're bringing. So with Seth falling from such a high fall, they could have just been like, and then he fell and on his head and ha 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 ha. Hold on a second. Needed to sneeze. And because they don't go, oh, he fell on his head and he's okay. He's just a goofy kid. He could have caught himself, but he didn't catch himself and do damage. Like instead of doing that, they really give it to us as like he actually had to catch himself or he would have died, And I love that aspect of storytelling. I actually need to destroy her. Oh no. Die. Die quickly. No, you're so loud. But because it feels like we know how much is going to be conveyed throughout the rest of the story, in the case of like realism, I mean, this man literally had to use his ability to catch himself from falling to then find out that if he didn't do so, he probably would die, right? Like he probably would have bit the dust. And in shows where it's kind of like has comedic relief on it, they could have easily have let him fall and be like, oh, and then he fell and it was all okay, like they could have easily done that, but they didn't because the show has also shown some actual progression of how real and tense these situations truly can become and truly are in the grand scheme of why you want to know, uh, just where all of this is going to stem from at the end of it all. Like he's looking for the radiant, and now in this place, the most weirdest stuff is happening when it comes down to the nemesis and how they're quote unquote showing up out of thin air. And man, is this a juicy little tidbit on how to really weave a story in. But I feel like me as a watcher, me as someone who's seen things, me someone who has reviewed these things and had to look for deeper meanings because I wanted to, I saw right through what they're already introducing with this episode. I saw when Seth questioned the villagers, when this thing showed up, did it show up in an egg? Did when this thing showed up, did you react to it and be like, oh, it's hatching? And they're like, no, it just popped out of thin air, that same size, boom. That automatically triggers him to know that that's completely different than what he's been dealing with all this time, right? He's never heard of such nemesis just showing up and being in that type of formation, or that type of size and everything, which also goes to show you why every time these knights that go out and think they're doing the god's work and stuff, shooting their bullets through the nemesis, quote unquote weakening it, they're teaching the knights that by shooting these energy or magic through the monster, it's still somehow damaging and weakening it for their final blow. And quote unquote the final blow being these two knights flying in with swords and cutting this astral projection, what I'm just gonna call it. That just seems like a projection of somebody's, and you don't really get any concise understanding of, what Seth's going with it. But I think, as you can tell, I have already kind of cracked the code. But that's just me with how these things are. Like for me, like if I see this stuff happening, it's a pretty straightforward line for me after that to be like, okay, and I see this, 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 and this happening. Like it's happened so much for me, and I've experienced it so much through amazing shows that it's nice to see this show taking that traditional route of playing with the audience. If you understand how Nemesis come about and all these different things, then this shouldn't be a surprising revelation when or it should be super surprising when you see it. And if it isn't surprising to you, it goes to show you, did you remember how the Nemesis were hatched in the first place? So it's a good way to test the key audience of who remembers what and why it has a significance for him asking about them being hatched and whatnot. So bounty points there, and like I said, he also is treating the world's being treated realistically in the case of he can't just fall from any height and just rub his head and be like, "Oh, I'm okay," and it's whatever. He literally saves himself by using power, and then comes up with an idea to save the farmer's crops, which seems to be the second part of what we're getting this quote unquote curse, is whenever you supposedly don't trade to a foreigner, you then have a curse that then puts you in a position where you have to lose your crops and lose the possessions or stuff that you probably didn't trade. And we see how it's happening. They put a fake monster they fight over those crops, and the people who are attacking the monsters are the true people attacking and hurting everything in the way. So very, very crazy stuff already. I mean, this show definitely is worth everybody just checking in. I almost thought it was a 12 episode season because that's just usually how these things happen. But this was always like a more than 12 episodes season show. So I think that's another reason why I was so confused on why people slept on it. It's like you get all of these episodes and it's all leading up to something and building up, and it was an amazing build up in the first season. You're telling me you're not hyped for another? Alright, well, all my anime people that are, stand up, be proud, because we are getting some absolutely dope storytelling. And if you didn't catch the stuff that I said, definitely let me know in the comments down below, because I have a real like eye for this stuff. So if it does all come true, that's the only reason why I'll probably have it in a tab. I'll be like, I told y'all, this is some fake stuff, man, show. But I will be humble about it. I truly do appreciate you guys being around, though. It's been fun. The other thing I just want to quickly touch up on is the girl is pretty lively, and I already kind of like her character, so I hope she does make uh, an entrance in the squad for good, kind of like the girl that we met in the other town. But hopefully they don't have to separate this time around and stuff. Hopefully Seth understands that just like everybody else in this world, or just like Alma, or just like anyone who's met a connection with Seth, they're all going to be worried about what happens to him at a lot of given times. But at the same time, he can't just leave and not tell anybody why he's leaving, or leave and not give anybody the chance uh, to be able to be around them, be in a situation to have fun with them, so, or not fun, or to be able to be there for Seth if he needs help in any way, shape, or form. If you just leave without really giving someone their case to be able to help you, that's pretty messed up, and I can understand why his old friends may be mad at him, or at least one of them, or if she's just jealous of, not jealous, but envious of his ability to be able to protect himself. when she needed his help to be protected. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys are feeling about Radiant, and if you are keeping up with it, or if you're watching the channel, seeing if anything hype happens. I've had some people do that, which I don't mind at all. I will definitely let you know when the hype stuff pops off, okay? I'm the Anime G after all, and I will definitely talk to y'all in the next one. So with that being said, have an amazing day, night, evening, whatever the case may be, and I will definitely talk to you in the next one. So with that, peace.